Do you think that straight white men hold too much power in society today?
Not exactly. The dynamics are changing now, I think so. We always had gay people, homosexuals, lesbians, everything in our society, in our ancestors' time, and nobody cared because it was seen as a private thing. But these days, it's like, it's in your face. And if you, on that side of the spectrum, you get more opportunities. So straight men are going extinct, to be honest. We need straight men.
But do you think straight white men in particular are going extinct?
Straight white men, I think, yeah, it's more, but most black men as well. So.
Hi, my name's Liam and I'm in Bristol, and today I'm going to be asking people if they think that straight white men have too much power. Let's get to it. Do you think that straight white men have too much power in society?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say so. I think we're constantly hearing news stories, aren't we, pretty much every year about a straight white man who's got away with something terrible. And I think, yeah, I mean, obviously privilege comes into it. And yeah, no, absolutely, yeah.
And do you think that white people should be guilty for like slavery? Just give me an honest opinion.
I think white people should know about slavery more than they do. I think they should be learning a lot more about slavery than they do. I think a lot of people in Britain, especially, think of it as an American issue and don't think of it as a British issue when it absolutely is. So I think the vast majority of white people in Britain are not aware of it enough at all, really. They don't think about it and they don't think about how it affects us today. So. I don't know if guilty is the word I'd use, but perhaps, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Just more knowledgeable on it.
More knowledgeable on it, yeah. But I'm certainly, I mean, I wouldn't if somebody said, you know, talk about guilt, I wouldn't shirk somebody talking about that. But at the same time, I think guilt can be quite. Some people can use a sort of guilt, like a historical guilt. They can be quite indulgent about it. They can, you know, it's kind of the white man's burden. It's an old thing, isn't it? You know, I think they can feel a bit guilty about it, and that's what they have to do then. Oh, I feel guilty. I've not learned about it, but I feel guilty. So I think that's a thing as well.
Do you think that white men have too much power in society?
I think in modern society, I don't think you can really argue otherwise. I think that everything you do and everywhere you go is in some ways like easier for you than it is for other people, just because of how you look and the way you're born. Obviously this isn't right. I'd say particularly in like certain industries there's like a big gap, not just between like the way people are treated, but just the entire anywhere else.
So what do you think white males can do to like address this power imbalance?
Accept it, vocalize it, like know it, and just like act upon it. Like, you know, it's like just, you can't just sit here and take this for granted and not like, I don't know, just, that's a hard one. That's a hard one, like what to do about it. I mean, just know. And
so do you think that white men have too much power in society today?
I think there are people in society today who shouldn't have power. There's some people who do have power technically, but can't actually use it because some of the systems get in their way. The real thing is it boils down to the conscience, the character of the person. Male, female, black, white. It doesn't matter what race. It doesn't matter what religion. That's irrelevant. It boils down to the individual character and how that character has been formed. You can't let your history, your background, affect you to the point where you become paralyzed by it. You have to respond to it. When I was growing up, there was a lot of dysfunction in my family, and I've got 3 younger sisters, and it was abusive in various ways. And ultimately, it was the people that I might meet for 10 minutes in the street. It was reading about mythology, the fables, and it was understanding what basic moral principles were. And I had to make my own decisions. I couldn't simply do a knee-jerk response to what I was experiencing. If I've been bullied, fine, but most people are fine. And I've used psychology against bullies, or I've used other things against bullies. But the bullies, the dysfunctional, and the people who are dysfunctional enough to damage other people are in the minority.
Yeah, I agree.
But you can sometimes get snowed by this and begin to give up. And you must never give up. Ultimately, your character has to see the thing through.
Yeah, it's true. So do you think that this sort of like this white guilt narrative, do you think that's something that people are just using as a short, like, reductionist answer to the ills of society's problems, instead of, like you said, looking for the actual underlying moral problems?
If I gave you without warning, a gut punch and then said, I'm sorry, no, that isn't really going to work, is it? But I think that if a person doesn't understand the history of the thing, the other thing is you can overbalance it too. I mean, if I say I'm sorry, that's not enough. I have to actually act on it. But at the same time, and we've seen this with civil wars and various situations, where then the balance flips. And then the person who was the victim, and of course they weren't the victim because the victim existed 100 years ago or more, but they're going, yeah, you owe me. But then that creates an imbalance.
I agree.
We have to kind of look at this thing for what it is, make society work. Ultimately, kids are going to be born, they're going to grow up in this thing. You don't want to pass on the poison, and you're trying to create a society basically that supports and encourages and rewards. The thing that pisses me off very often is when people play a rigged game. Now they may rig it in terms of their religion, they may rig it in terms of their race or whatever it may be, or the fact that their gender, you know. Even now, like say with trans, for example, absolutely human rights, no question about it. But if you overplay your hand, then you end up being the monster. And it's really difficult. It's very tough. You can make a fair society, but it's very hard to do because everyone needs a slightly different compensation, you know. So I don't think there's an easy answer, but the most important thing, beyond the guilt, is pay attention, talk, and actually engage in that way on a personal level, and begin to understand a little bit more what the other person thinks and what the other person feels they need. And that's it, but you have to communicate.